Every day that the Lord Almighty gives us is a day to be thankful. It's one we were not entitled to. So I always want to be mindful to be thankful of my blessings, and one of those is you showing up here every single day. Like, share, subscribe, engaging in the comment section. I very much appreciate it, more than you know. Those of you at the Patreon channel as well, putting your money where your mouth is. It's only $1 a month, even less if you sign up for an entire year, where we can talk about things like adults, and we can talk about the difficult subjects, the ones that aren't easy. And that's really the topic of today's video. Things that aren't easy that we're going to have to do. One of those things is control our minds, because that's the beginning, that's the nexus of all of it. You lose control of it between your ears and nothing else you've done matters. I've used this image before talking about volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. A lot of people already have their minds made up about what's coming, when it's coming, what they're going to do, how they're going to go about it. They have everything all set. Because planning is not a bad thing. But you need to plan for volatility. You need to plan for uncertainty and things getting a lot more complex and ambiguous. That's why having somebody to talk to, someone to look dead square in the eye, who you know is probably going to see the world very different than you, as an asset, is far more important than beans, bullets, or band-aids. Because two perspectives can see things entirely differently. And the truth may exist in both perspectives. It just needs people to be willing to do things that are hard to divine it. It's trust versus risk. Now, in today's video specifically, I'd like to give once again a big shout out to Southern Prepper One. He put up a video earlier today where he was talking about how he went to a local campground and it was almost abandoned during a time of year when it's usually not, when it's very full. And this is evidence, of course, boots on the ground evidence, that people are staying put. They aren't taking a chance on being away from the house or spending the extra money to go be at a campground. They want to be ready to go at a moment's notice. And they're vacationing. It's a trust issue. They no longer even trust society. They no longer trust any system of government. They no longer trust this government specifically. They don't trust the media. And we have even a bigger story. The youth of this country no longer trust the military at all. And the numbers game is frightening. Defense Department officials have been sounding the alarm for months. The military is going to miss its enlisted recruiting goals this year, and the Army may be in the worst spot of any of the services. As of late June, according to an Army spokesman, the Army had hit only 40% of its recruiting goal of 55,400 new soldiers for fiscal year 2022. The reasons contributing to plunging recruitment are complex. Sound familiar? Including more detailed medical screenings, a shrinking proportion of Americans eligible to serve, poor marketing, blah, 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 blah. They are going to miss by tens of thousands just in the Army alone. And the reason? They don't understand the psychology. They don't, because it's a difficult thing to accept. But kids understand it. It's the risk-reward analysis. What I'm risking by joining the military is far too great based on what the perceived benefit is. Who remembers after the Gulf War started? All of this thank you for your service stuff that all of a sudden, just all across the country, everybody started finding every possible veteran they could and saying thank you for serving our country and protecting our freedoms. Well, what happened after 2020? Did they protect our freedoms? Did they protect our liberty? No. In fact, they colluded with a government that took it away. And kids don't want to be a part of that. There are all sorts of reasons, and the answer the little jabbity jab of the 2020 sniffles, is a huge reason they're not joining. Now, funny story. This is Katie Tur from MSNBC. I'm not going to play this video because, of course, it would be a copyright violation. I'll give you the link. But she said in so many words that the numbers from the polls talking about how many people trust journalists are so low, she said, I'm wondering if by merely doing the job that I'm doing more harm than good. Should I continue? Completely demoralized. See, back in 82, a year before she was born, there was a song that came out called Dirty Laundry by Don Henley, a year before she was born, that foretold this, that there was going to come a point when people were going to say, okay, whatever the media says, I'm going to think the opposite. They lie 100% of the time. The government lies 100% of the time. And the military is the government. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are, great story, McKee. What does this have to do with us? When the lights go out and when the power goes down, there's a massive CME heading this way, by the way. Supposed to hit tomorrow. Who knows what effects it'll have? Who are you going to trust? And what will be the basis of that trust? Some people, I'm trusting nobody. I'm going down to my bunker and I'm triple locking it and I'm going to crack open a case of beans and I'm going to sit there and clutch my AR-15 and wait for the end. Even so, Jesus come. That's what some people are going to do. If you're not one of those people, you're going to have to divine some way of figuring out who to trust and who to not trust. Some people already have their mind made up. A lot of people trusted certain elements of the last administration that turned out to be untrustworthy. Some people have just given up on the idea of it. Well, here's a clue. Here's a clue. Anybody who takes the easy way out, don't trust. And that's what Private Potato Cakes, Sergeant Butterveins, and Captain Cookie Dough are all about here. Taking the easy way out. Pops into their head, they do it. If they're bored, they eat. They eat 3 times as much as they need. Why? Well, it's easy. And there's a trick of the mind that makes people like this believe they're actually doing good. See, the difference between these two is that they both were fat at one time. I've showed the image before of this guy when he was obese. The difference is this guy just chose to stay fat. Now, what's that trick of the mind? See, here are your criterion that are laid out in the Bible. I know I have a lot of people, oh, he's going to start talking about the Bible again. Just hear me out on this. Hear me out on this. The 7 deadly sins are basically the easy way out that you can justify every time. Lust. That's pretty much self-explanatory. It feels good. I want to do it. She wants to do it. Speaking to the men in my audience, of course. Or he wants to do it. It's easy to give into. Because it feels good. And what's the story really, the real story behind this? Especially for men? I need the women around me to know how much of a man I am. So there's virtue in it. Pardon me. Gluttony. What's the virtue in gluttony? I need to be well fed. I don't want to starve myself. And it feels good. And it's not really sinful. See, there's a lot of lies out there. A lot of people, you see a lot of people in churches that are just absolutely morbidly obese. And they think because they're not giving into lust and giving into gluttony that they're just better than everyone else. Because, of course, they wear the suits and they wear the long dresses. And they talk a big game about lust. The reason that they don't have this in their life is because they have too much of this in their life. Oh, but that's just having a meal. Mucky, how can you hate people for having a meal? How can you hate people for that? Really? Really? Think about it. Why would it be listed in the Bible as the same thing as lust? Lust for food. Greed. Greed can be justified. Boy, I tell you what, McKee, with what's coming, you can never have too much cash. You can never have too much cash on hand. You can never have too many number 10 cans of Mountain House beans. I don't care how many people in my neighborhood are starving. Don't care. Nope, that was their poor decisions. This is mine, and this is for me and mine only. And I need everybody to know how good of a steward I am, so I'm going to hoard. You see, they take something good, like stewardship, and then they twist it into greed and make it be as if it's something good. See what's going on here? You can make all of these in a certain perspective and a certain light seem good. Sloth. Oh, Maki, how can you yell at somebody for just getting good rest? We're supposed to be well rested. We're supposed to be calm. We're not supposed to be out running around and doing things all the time. Sitting on the couch, sitting in front of a computer all day, binge watching this, extra couple hours in bed. Sloth. Oh, it's well rested. You see, that's the good version. That's how they justify it. Wrath. This is one that's so popular here on YouTube. So popular. Get angry. Get upset. You let everybody know that you're not going to be messed with. If you have to, you're going to go grab your AR-15 and you're going to let people know who's in charge. And you need everyone out there to know who's in charge because you have an AR-15 and 20,000 rounds. Wrath. I'm allowed to be angry. That's how they make it good. I'm allowed. Even God says there's things he hates, and he also says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Envy. This is another easy way out. Instead of looking at your own bad decisions as the reason why you don't have what someone else does, you just fume about why you don't have it. How unfair it is. How unfair life is, and that you're excused. You're excused because there was no way you could have made different decisions. This is kind of the lead into the whole predestination argument. Well, this is what the path that God gave me, and there was nothing I could do to change it. So that they have that is just a sign that, they've made a deal with the devil. See how they turned it into you being good and them being bad? Pride. The reason people make incredibly bad decisions, their pride, because they don't want to admit they're wrong. Because letting go of even one little bad decision and saying I was wrong would require a certain level of humility, and somebody might point a finger, somebody might laugh at them. No, I'm not letting go of my pride. I would rather die. I would rather die than let go even a little tiny bit of my pride. See, even Caesar said this. Caesar said it is easier to find men that go out there and would die on the battlefield than those who will endure pain or humiliation with patience. See how all of these sins can be turned for good in the right perspective, meaning that they can be perceived as good depending on how you look at it. My favorite is the giant 350 and 400 pound churchgoers that waggle their finger at people who are actually in shape but maybe succumb to lust once in a while. That's my personal favorite. You see, this is easy. My neighbor disagrees with me. I'm going to go load up and we're going to have a firefight. You see, this is hard. This is where that whole pride thing comes in. I made this collage of pictures, these two pictures together. Would you give up everything just to save a little pride? What if somebody came to me and said, the only way we can keep the lights on, the only way we keep the house is if I and a friend of mine go engage in certain activity? You see, the whole story of the woman caught in adultery, nobody puts together with this. A lot of people like to excuse the woman caught in adultery because they believe Jesus did and forgave her, where it doesn't say he forgave her. He just told her to go and sin no more. A lot of you said, well, you don't know what was going on with that woman. She could have been in a bad relationship. It could have been this, could have been that, or the other. trying to find excuses. Whereas in this case, everybody would look for excuses to condemn a woman who would make this choice to keep the lights on. It's an interesting juxtaposition that nobody wants to put together. You see, there's going to be, when the grid goes down and the power goes down, people out there ready to push your buttons if they know they can. And right now, I see a lot of people that have their mind made up about a whole bunch of things that they think are right or wrong or legal or illegal or good or bad. Especially this. This upset a lot of people. And the reason I used this image is because in a grid down, power down situation, men are going to have their hands full. If you don't have women around you that understand what needs to be done with kids to raise good, God-fearing adults, there's going to be a problem. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. What's going to happen when those kids get this age? What's going to happen when kids get this age and they don't have any discipline in their lives and nobody's ever set boundaries for them, and maybe they have to go out and they have to pick up a weapon and defend themselves, and you haven't bothered because it was difficult, because it was hard and it didn't feel good to set a standard the right way, the way your grandparents did it, the way your great-grandparents did it. You just rather sit back and judge those trying to survive and waggle fingers while you're on your fourth helping or the last 2 slices of an entire pizza. You know, waggle your finger and say, well, at least I'm not them. Go back, read your Bible, and see which one of these standards you think is going to be applied during a grid down, power down situation is for you. Is it going to be a good versus evil thing where you follow the Bible? Is it going to be a legal, illegal thing where you follow what the government says? Or is it going to be a right and wrong thing where you're just going to stick your finger in the wind and look around at your group and see, well, what decision would make me the most popular? That'll be the right one. So you can choose good versus evil, legal or illegal, right or wrong. That's how you determine trust versus risk. For me personally, I'm going to consult the good book. And I can give you 3 scriptures right now, off the top of my head, talking about corporal punishment, for those of you that are still all wincy about that. Spare the rod. Spoil the child is 1. Bring a child up in the way that he should go, and he will not depart from it, number 2. And there's a scripture in Proverbs, for he who chasteneth his son loveth him, he who does not hate him. Paraphrasing there. 3 different places in the Bible where they talk about this. So I'm going to stick with the Bible. I don't know about you. You can make whatever decision you want. But just understand, when your buttons get pushed, you're going to have to rely on something. Not the judgments of others. Not your own judgment, especially if it falls down to this. These were laid out for a reason. Because they can all be made to seem good in certain context. I'm not lazy, I'm just getting enough sleep. I'm not a glutton, I'm just being well fed. I'm not being greedy, I'm just being a good steward. My anger is justified. My wrath is justified. My envy is warranted because God predestined me to be where I am, and it's not fair. My pride, I'm going to do what I think is right. At least I'm not those people. And lust? Well, let's put it this way. If every single person out there had waited until there was some authority figure to betroth them before doing what's necessary to make babies, the human race would have died off a long time ago. The Bible says, in sin I was conceived. All of us. Those of you also talking about how a baby is precious and holy and sanctified. I wonder if the activity, you would say, is the same thing. That is always rooted in lust. Always. I don't care what you say, that's the case. I'll leave it there. We can talk about this in a little bit more graphic terms over at Patreon. $1 per month. Is it worth it to you? Get a hold of your psychology so you can survive, so those around you can survive. It's even less if you sign up for an entire year. Fully refundable, by the way. First 90 days, if you need that $3 back, right back at you. No questions asked. Those of you who have joined, God bless you. Thank you so much for being there. Very much appreciate it. You guys have a great day. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.